All right, how you going? So at the moment I'm doing what we asked you guys to do, which is draw an image of your little sculpture that you made. Here's the little sculpture. Remember we made these on camp out of the material that we found while we were away on camp. We had some rocks and some leaves and some sticks and things. I've actually gone ahead and enhanced this with a little bit of some wire. Oh, I'm stuck in the light here, but hopefully you can see that. And I've just made it sort of look more like a sculpture than just a pile of stuff I found. And I sort of took all the masking tape off it that we did on camp, and I tidied it up with two types of wire. I've got a gum leaf here that was half dried that I wrapped around and just made it. And I snapped a few things out of it. I kind of took a lot of the stuff out of it just to make it look more sculptural, I guess. And then we've asked you guys to draw several versions of it with in charcoal in your process diary. And I just want to draw your attention to this. If I just grab this out, what you'll notice is that I've created this. I've got a single light, and I'm using the canvas that I grabbed from school. And if we just sort of move this in and out, what I want you to pay attention to is the shadow behind it. Because if we remember, we looked at Peter Sharp, the artist Peter Sharp, and he makes these sculptures. There's a better view of what I've done. I'll put it in the light here. He makes these little sculptures, and then when he draws them, he draws not only the sculpture, but he also draws the shadow behind it. And you can see the shadow. This is the canvas I brought home, and I've just got a single light in here in my garage, and the canvas behind it. Look at the shadow it throws. And so hopefully I'm going to start doing that in my drawing. So I'm using the compressed charcoal to draw what I see, and it's just a process of constantly looking up and then looking down and drawing and constantly turning and finding a sharp spot on your charcoal, and just quietly working away at it. This big drawing is let's do a really nice drawing of our sculpture, and then we've asked you to do 4 small ones. So I'm just switching to the willow here to draw the shadow, because the willow is a bit softer, and I might even sort of smudge it a little bit. And I'm sort of, I guess the willow is grayer, and I can just sort of use it more looser and more spontaneously than when I use the compressed charcoal. So I've sort of created this little rule for myself, and I'm going to do this a bit as I move through the painting as well. Impose little rules on myself while I'm doing this work. And for this one, my little rule is I'm going to draw the main sculpture in this stuff, and I'm going to draw the shadow in the willow, and hopefully it'll sort of lighten it up. And that's just going to work for me. Anyway, I might just keep drawing, and then you might see me jump forward in the video in a minute, and I'll show you the finished product, and I'll show you the other 4 drawings as well. All right, so you just use what you have. I'm here in my garage with the lawnmower and everything and all that. I've made myself a little corner here. Just a nice little space. It's a bit late at night. I'm sitting up at night. I'm doing it now, and I just think it's you can got my laptop. You can have a bit of music on and just take your time drawing, and hopefully you'll end up with a few drawings. I'll come back in a minute and I'll show you the other ones. So have a look at this. When I've just turned it. I've just turned this sculpture, and when this sculpture, I've got it sitting on a cup. I had to get it off on a cup, because when it's sat on the ground, you'll notice I've lost half the shadow here, and I really want that whole shadow at the back there. So I've chucked it on a cup, and that way when I draw it, I get this whole shadow here. But like, your instinct is to look at it from the front like that. And that's working, and I did that in a drawing. But then as I turn it, keep your eye on the end of this stick and the shadow that comes from it. I'll focus in on it. that shadow, I could film that, and you know, if you move it in or let it touch it, then you've got some really, and look at this line that's throwing off here. All that's got to come into your drawing. That's like the leaf up the top, all of a sudden, the shadow of that leaf is doing things. And, you know, I could prop something, I could prop my rubber or the pencil or something onto the back of the sculpture, and look at this shape that I'm getting. Look at that shape created by the shadow and the sculpture joining together. Really, really, really interesting. And you know, if I move around this sculpture like this, well, now we get different shapes again. And so here's my drawing that I'm doing this time, and I'm a bit looser on the next four. So the first one was pretty tight. I'll just go to it. So the first one, I'm pretty tight on it because, you know, I want one nice artwork. But after that, it's okay to oops, sorry about all that. You know, get a bit loose with it. Create some really nice, loose, scraggly looking drawings. One or two of these are going to become the composition for your paintings. That's the whole idea. In the same manner as Peter Sharp, we're pretty much following Peter Sharp's practice, his process of where he remember he couldn't paint. He went out in the desert and he couldn't really deal with the landscape straight up, so he decided to his way of dealing with the landscape was to make these little sculptures, and then the sculptures, by drawing the sculptures and the shadows they cast, that was his way into dealing with the landscape in a more abstract way. It was his starting point. And like, you know, I talked about creating little rules for yourself. That's what he did. He created this little rule for himself that he was going to look down on the ground and find objects and then assemble them together to make these little sculptures. But they're from the landscape. And then he's going to add another step into that process. He then draws along the shadows, and then they become his paintings. We're going to add a few other artists in because we don't just want to directly copy Peter Sharp. Yeah, this is his practice, but it's a really nice way into abstraction. And it's funnily enough, I met him at an exhibition last year, and I grabbed him and I said, "I'm an art teacher, and you know, we're doing your process, your practice." And he's actually an art teacher originally. He said, "Oh, cool." He was really rapt that it, you know, it's rubbed off on people and it's been done in the classroom. So there you go, little anecdote. So, all right, I'll come back with all the drawings. All right, guys. So look, here we are. Here's my still here at my little setup, and here's my 4 drawings. There's my sort of first in detail drawing. I even used a bit of the white charcoal back over the top here to bring some highlights in. Took my time with this drawing, and as you can see, did a lot of shading and careful tonal work. Another little flick of white just there, and I picked up on the idea that one side of the leaf is darker than the other. If I have a look at my sculpture here, yeah, you can see it there. So I picked up on that vein that runs through the middle of the leaf and all that stuff, and did my shadows, and that's like a little finished drawing all on its own. And then I did some other quicker ones. I know they look scribbly and loose, but that's the idea. The idea is that they actually do look a bit scribbly and loose. And then what I did was here, this is side on, I'll turn it around. Because I decided to work a different way, and I did 2 drawings at once. So I turned it. I turned the sculpture. I did this one here, and I tried to get it down in about 30 seconds to 60 seconds, like a minute, about a minute. I tried to get as much information as I could in a minute, and then I quickly you know, turned my sculpture there like that, and then off I went again and did the second one. And I don't mind the fact that they overlap. You know, some of you will have probably done 4 to a page, but drawings grow on me. I can't really fit. I can't really fit 4 to a page. So you've got lots of pages in your process story. I'm really kind of liking this one, and I'm going to maybe put a square frame over this to sort of reduce some of the edge of it. And that might well become the composition for my painting. But anyway, and then the last one, I tried something a bit different again. I just tried to focus on just this top section, just this you know, from here to there sort of thing. I'll turn it on the side so you can see it. I tried to, actually that's the view. So I sort of decided that I'd start about here and just do the top section. However, I then added this line down here, so I sort of took the middle out. So I made something up from it, which is really nice. It's really nice to you know, start with something reality and then, you know, let yourself go a little bit and make something up and let it become something else. So there it is. That's the, you know, there's the sculpture, there's the shadow. So that's where I've got to with the drawing. So let's now get it up onto, in the next video I'll show you how to get that up onto the canvas. So one sort of refined, careful drawing, and then 3 or 4 looser ones. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's what we want from you, and that's plenty of drawing. That's enough. Okay.